Okay guys, once again, video cut short. It's pretty annoying. If someone knows why that occurs, don't hesitate to enlighten me on why and how I could possibly fix it in the future. I think we're supposed to have 15 minutes of recording time. Last time it stopped at about 8. This time it stopped at about 10. It still records while I'm recording. It's just that when I actually go to finish processing it, only a segment of the video actually shows. So anyway, this is part 2 of my response to the video when opinions do not coexist. I was in the midst of explaining how I personally appraise matches. I'll just go through each of the aspects that I personally appraise, and then I'll move on to one more thing before I finish up. So the things that I appraise matches on, my personal criteria for assessing matches. So this is subjective also. It doesn't necessarily, it's not completely concrete. If something lacks yet another aspect is so friggin' awesome, the star ratings will stay the same, if that makes any sense. So I think there's 6 aspects that I sort of concentrate on when I'm appraising matches in my reviews or review thus far. First one, storytelling / psychology, and it's a cliched term that's loosely thrown around. Some examples: focus body parts to accommodate the finishing character, disposition, interactions in general, how the workers incorporate the crowd, the showmanship, etc. The second criteria, the logicalness, which flows into storytelling and psychology as well, but I like to think of this as a separate entity. I'm appraising. The third part are the botches, the extent of the botches, whether they affect the match so much that it can significantly pull the star ratings down. This doesn't play so much of a part. A match can have a few botches yet still get really good star ratings because the storytelling and the psychology is so awesome. The fourth thing, the timing of moves and the transitions between spots and how they are sold. It all relates to psychology, I guess. And the fifth part, whether the match actually looks real and is believable, and whether the match is stiff as shit. No, not really. I'm only kidding. A match doesn't have to be stiff as shit to be believable. So sit on it. And the sixth thing, and the one that envelopes all of the other all of the other elements of the criteria, is the general aura, the part that combines all the things I previously mentioned, and the garnering of my personal connection with the match. I mean, my personal connection and opinion ultimately doesn't mean shit. It's the fans that matter, and whether the workers work to put asses on seats. But I mean, the crowd plays a big part as well. I forgot to mention the crowd. Whether the crowd actually responds, it doesn't play a big part, but it can influence the match slightly and influence my appraising. So the general aura, whether I have a personal connection with the match. So it's kind of sort of more of a cryptic criteria, much more subjective criteria, but one that can also influence the star ratings. But that last criteria really depends on the previous 5 criteria. So one guy that I'm personally connecting with, it sounds strange and like someone who's celebrity obsessed might describe, whatever, is one guy that I really like and who I connect with at the moment. It's Go Shiozaki. I think he just has a special aura about him from when he walks down the ring to his interaction with the crowd. He's good. He's just look. He's the complete package in my opinion, and he's one guy to really look out for the future. Definitely the ace of Noah, I think. And that's how I appraise matches. There were some other questions that Ichiban Pures asked, but I think even from my verse review and how you perceive me already, you probably already answered them by yourselves. The last thing I want to talk about before I log off is IchibanPuroresu, reference a postmodern concept of intertextual saturation, and how he believes that there are no original gimmicks there are a minimal number of original gimmicks in pro wrestling, in contemporary pro wrestling, so that within the last 5 years until present. And I totally believe this. There are very rare. You very rarely see an original gimmick these days. Some parts of a particular gimmick might be original, but they're always referring to prior texts, prior gimmicks. And one thing I was thinking about, and maybe you could think about, might conjure some responses, is seeing as though this is the case, that there is no original gimmicks, all gimmicks are somehow taken from previous gimmicks that were over for most of the time. If a gimmick is referring to a gimmick that wasn't there, really pretty stupid. Is there a way a worker, it may have already been done, but is there a way a worker can to refer to another postmodern concept, to deconstruct the character, whether it's in the ring, through promos and angles, so they can deconstruct the character in order to represent what flaws the original gimmick actually had? I mean, deconstruction is a separate concept to intertextuality. Deconstruction, when a text deconstructs another text, like for example a modern text, which they mostly postmodern texts normally do, they don't necessarily criticize it in a negative way. All they're doing is representing how it was actually made. So a contemporary gimmick, which is referring to an older gimmick, is there a way that the wrestler can deconstruct that gimmick somehow to show the crowd how it was actually made in the first place? Just an interesting thing to think about. If you have some ideas, don't hesitate to respond with a video or a little nice typed message. Alright, that's it guys, thanks for listening. Hopefully this one works. Bye bye.